Hello everybody, welcome back to Commonwealth Flipper. Let me tell you, I honestly think there's a lot of resellers out there that are completely lying to themselves, and I think it's affecting your eBay business. And I'll tell you what, I am guilty of this too. And I do want to talk about this. I think this is something that, I don't know, most people go through this, no matter what walk of life that they're in. And I just figured I'd talk about it today. Jess is here today because Chase is here hanging. It's the summertime and Chase doesn't have to go to school, so he is an only child and Turner needs a buddy. So we're having a good time around here. But we have a ton of really good sales too, and that actually ties into part of what I want to talk about today. So let's go take a look. So I'm going to start off with this. Today we have about, I think, 19 items headed out of here for like $1,350. And I'm going to start with that because it's going to tie into what I'm talking about here. A lot of people hear that and they'll immediately go to their keyboards and they'll be like, you know, they'll start questioning or giving excuses why this is, you know, you got viewer sales and I do have a few viewer sales today. Or, you know, questioning stuff. First, let me just say this because I get this all the time. I do 3 videos a week. So if I got $1,350 headed out of here, if that played out over the 3 videos, which it doesn't always, that would be, I don't know, let's say $4 grand a month-ish. No, a week, I'm sorry. $4 grand a week-ish. So it's not quite, you know, hey, he just sold $1,350 today. I do 3 videos a week. So you got to divide that up. But my point in that is to, well, let me get this hat out and I'll make the point. This is the hat. It hasn't been in here very long. It's pretty cool. It does have some weak foam in there, though, for sure. It's the Rooster Run hat. General Store, 1984. This one sold for $22. Plus shipping. So I found in the social media business, and I'm a consumer of social media, at least, well, a bunch of different stuff, but for the most part, it's in this niche. It's in reselling. I like it. It helps me work. It motivates me. But I have been one that shied away from taking those giants, and I do it from time to time, so I'm not immune to this. But I think there's a fine line. You know, those big pictures with piles and piles stacked up, and, you know, you don't see charts of my, you know, earnings on eBay and whatever, because, I don't know, I think there's a fine line between, like, inspiring and gloating, and I try to walk that line, right? But it really is deeper than that for me. It's because I do some of the things that I'm going to talk about today when I consume social media. I think some of you do too, and it wrecks your brain, y'all. And it causes you to be less productive and to be less happy. You know, you hear often that comparison is the thief of joy. And this might be it right here. I screwed this up last week, so I gotta get the right one. Iggy Pop. This is weird, y'all. It says 45 RPM, and it's got like a single on it. It's just got 1 song or 2 songs from the album Lust for Life. Anyway, this thing's weird. There's not many of these out there. It sold for $35, I think. $32.30 plus shipping. It's not like this stuff is new. You know, it makes me think of the proverb, a heart at peace gives life to the body, but envy rots the bones. I think it's something like that. I think I got it pretty close anyways. So it's a tale as old as time. Boy, there's gonna be a lot of metaphors and proverbs and sayings and in this video. But let me tell you, it's worse now than it's ever been. Social media makes people fall prey to this, I think, more than, I mean, when I was a kid, we had those shows. You know, we had, well, Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous, and we, you know, you had the magazines that would tell those stories of the glamorous and whatever, and you had MTV Cribs, if you remember that, and they'd show off their crib. And it's just been amplified like 100 times now. You know, is this one, I'm looking for, I'm a little worried here, unless it's inside. Did I put one inside? Because I don't see any more of these Mega Blocks, and I sold one. It's not these little ones. I gotta go look, make sure. I gotta go find the right one. I knew there was a bigger one here somewhere. Mega Block Star Trek, the original series. That one sold for good money, y'all. Sold for $80 plus shipping. I have a visitor. How you doing, bud? Come on in. It got me thinking about the people in my life who are the most content. Watch this. Dogs aren't immune to it. Watch this. See how he was just fine? And watch this. See? He can't take it. Can't take it. You gotta come over here, don't you? See, that guy can't get any love over here unless I'm gonna get some. This dog is a jealous dog. Now he's fine again. But, you know, I was a teacher for a long time. I was a coach, and I was having a conversation with somebody the other day because both of our boys played travel sports and stuff. Reagan does travel too. It's a little bit of a different animal when it's an individual sport like gymnastics, and they were asking me questions about parents. It's like, what is wrong with these parents? And I'm just like, because I get a little fiery at the umpires sometimes because I'm an old baseball coach. But I can't, some of the things I hear parents say, coaches say to kids and stuff, and I'm like, there's, you know, 4 fields here, there's hundreds of kids here playing ball, and the likelihood that one of them will ever make the big leagues is pretty low. And these are the kids who are excelling at this sport. This isn't even rec league and you know, lower level stuff. It's crazy. I think expectations in this country are sky high through the roof, and it leads to a lot of disappointment. Now look, expectations are good. It's what drives us. So there's this little mediocre ground in there where contentment. The grass isn't always greener on the other side. So I'm going to read you something for all of you out there who love social media like I do, who love watching reselling content. It's got to get people to, it gets me down. I feel like I'm a successful eBay reseller, and then I watch some stuff from some people sometimes, and I'm like, man, these people are killing it. And then I got to remind myself, hey, things aren't always as they seem. It's why I mention things in here often, like Jess is out there in that shed right now. So yeah, we're going to put up big numbers on eBay this year. We're doing a ton of live selling. I'm sourcing. We're doing whatever. But I'm not doing it by myself. So when I throw out numbers like $1,350, I'll just say my wife probably lists 20 to 25% of the listings, and I'll do the rest. Jess handles all of the live selling. I don't do any of it except for press the button and host that show. So, and source. So there's, you know, you've got to put things in perspective, and you got to take things with a grain of salt out there. There's a lot of resellers on social media who they're trying to sell something to get viewers. And this, I'm not being negative towards them. This isn't just in reselling. This is in everything. You see this everywhere. It's like, hey, follow my course, follow my whatever, and you'll have this Lambo behind me or whatever. And that's what they're selling. They're selling, do it this way, watch me, you will succeed. What I find is that those people have tons of new followers all the time, and the old ones fall off. New followers, old ones fall off, because it's just not as easy as people make it look. I was watching some content the other day of a creator, and I like them. I admire them. I'm not being critical of this person at all. And you could tell that they were, and we all, I do this from time to time, they were either trying to justify their way or trying to sell a way that you should watch me because I'm successful. And it made me ask myself, what am I selling, or what am I perceived to be selling on the channels that I have? And I want to talk about that, but I want to look at some numbers first. I gotta make sure these are the right ones, y'all. Sometimes I pay up at estate sales. I think these were $10 a piece. I paid 40 bucks for them, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'll make over 100 bucks, or I'll sell them for over 100 bucks. It'll be well worth it. And they never ever sold until now on 30% off, $80.50. So 40 into $80.50. You know, it's not the end of the world. It wasn't what I thought it was going to be, and I'll make more profit per hour on that item, 40 into 80, than I will on that item, 1 into 20. So I started to think a little bit. I do this every once in a while. When I get these thoughts, I just kind of run rampant with them. And I will say it's the one thing I admire about Dave. I mean, there's a few, but that he never does that. He's never going to do that. It's never going to be a brag. It's never going to be like, do what I do. He's just like a reselling companion kind of thing. And I thought, well, you know, what is it that I do? Or what do people perceive me as doing? Because I think it's dangerous to a lot of kids, especially young kids, a lot of people, but especially young kids, that they see this stuff in social media. I see it, my boy, right? You know, he's a baseball player, and he's always imitating these big leaguers, and he's practicing all the time and whatever. And I'm just like, I wonder if he knows, hope he's not watching this, that the chances of him being one of those guys, no matter how hard he works, is very, very slim. Now, I'd never say that to him. Don't get me wrong. And at that age, those goals drive you. I was that way. I thought I was going to be a big league baseball player. Y'all, I'm 5'6". I'm 5'6". There's not, well, unless there's a few out there, but I'm 5'6" and slow, comparatively. And it's like, I knew it. I was going to work so hard that it was going to happen. Eventually, you got to come to that point in your life. It's like, it's just not going to happen for me. And so I started looking at numbers. For you football fans out there, take $1 million, because people are selling, you can get rich and do this and whatever. And you see it on social media all the time. I'm like, if these people are this ridiculously rich, do they really need to post something on Instagram and to get more people to whatever? I mean, how many millions is enough, right? And there's this underlying curiosity and dreaming that people see and all this stuff. But underneath the layers, it never is quite like it seems. And I hope I'm not guilty of that. I want to sell something completely different. But at any rate, if you're a college football fan, or if you're, know those biggest stadiums, I think Michigan has the biggest. I'm going to offend somebody here. I know that I think Penn State has a giant stadium. I think those are all over. There's one more. There's some over 100,000 people. So imagine 100,000 people in one of these massive football stadiums. 500 of them will make $1 million or more in a year. Just 500 out of all of those people. So I don't want to discourage people from, their goals. And a lot of people are listening to this. They're already content. They already get it. They already know this stuff. But I think for younger people, it takes a learning curve. I realize that I will find far more joy in my life. I don't want to say I'm not trying to, achieve this goal or whatever. I have goals. But the difference is, I think, what I've learned as I've aged, even in the last few years, is that comparing myself to other people and what they're doing is going to not only make me sad, it's going to bring me down and depress me and cause me not to be the person in my life that my kids need, my wife needs, the dogs apparently need. It's going to actually hurt me accomplishing my goals. And comparing yourself to yourself, I'll tell this story about my AP classes, and I know I'm probably bore people, but I'll get back to picking in a minute because I got a bunch. I used to sit down with my classes and we would talk about the goals. They would grade. It was a 1 through a 5 scale. You took this test at the end of the year and it was grueling and it was not fun. It was all day long. And this was one of the toughest courses you could take in high school. And they would score you 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. 3, 4s, and 5s passed. And that was somewhere at the time, is about 55% of the students got a 3, 4, or 5. And then I wouldn't tell them that first. I'd talk about how it worked and how it was graded and what their goals were, and they'd write it down. And inevitably, their goal, some kids were smart enough to be like, I just want to pass this thing because I get college credit, right? And they put down the 3. But I'd have tons of people put down the 5, and I'd be like, I don't want to discourage anybody. I just want to set realistic expectations here. There will only be... I said, this is one of my classes. I had 5 classes, usually well over 100 students, 105 one year to like 143 one year. I said, there will likely be 5 to 8 of you who get a 5 out of all of the classes. Look at these two. Look at this. FSU vintage Letterman's jacket. This one, I had tons of FSU stuff, y'all. And it was selling like crazy a couple years ago, a year and a half ago, and they were just hot as all get out, and then it all fell apart. And I still had this one, so it never sold, but this one did finally sell on 30% off. Sold for $209.97 plus shipping. So by the way, that number translates to 5 people out of 1,000 people make $1 million a year. And listen, y'all, that's in America. If you want to take the entire world, it's 1 in 270,000 people. 1 in 270,000. I swear I put these in here. All these soaps. Where did I put them? So there's this here. I'm looking for these soaps. Did I not put them in here? I must have put them somewhere else. Where might the soaps be? There they are right there. Why didn't I just put them in that drawer? I think I meant to and probably got sidetracked. These soaps right here are selling. Shout out to Pop for this one. This is crazy. I can't wait to show you this on the video. It says Penhaligon's Quercus soap. 1, 2, 3, 4. Selling them in lots. 5 and 6. So 6 of these sold for $30. Free shipping. I did free shipping because the competition was doing free shipping on these. So I did that one, not just once, but sold it to 2 separate people. So I paid $20 for all of the soap and for all of this stuff over here. 20 bucks, which by the way, I overpaid. They were 8 for $1 in the box. I'm like, how about 20 bucks? Counted it up and it was like $14.50 worth. Later, I still gave her 20 and I'm doing good. So just right here, just one sale breaks us even. And we've got this, all of that in that box and all that in that drawer. Crazy. I love multi-quantity stuff. Hey, bud, you're going to have to get out of the door because it's getting kind of hot in here. So why don't you come on in? Thank you. So I've already mentioned, you know, comparison is the thief of joy. Got a couple more here. Every minute you spend wishing you had someone else's life is a minute spent wasting yours. And I gotta say, you know, what I do, social media, I mean, not necessarily what I do, I hope not anyways, but social media perpetuates this. It makes it far, far worse in every aspect of your life. This one doesn't have a straw, so I'm thinking it's this one, because the one that sold has a straw. It didn't sell for much, but we got them for $1, so that one sold for $15.95. Starbucks tumbler, $15.95 plus shipping. So I guess in some way, everybody who's on social media in some way is trying to do something. And some of it might just be as simple as they're trying to make money. But I'm talking about the underlying part of like, okay, maybe it is to make money, but how do you do that? How do you attract people? And I hope that I'm not a person that is trying to attract people by, you know, pie in the sky. You know, you can be a millionaire, you can do whatever. That's just not me. It never has been me. I think it can be destructive out there. Now, like I said, it's a fine line because you do need to measure yourself to some degree. If you're trying to attain something and having goals like, hey, I want to make this much a year so that I can X, that's healthy, I think. As long as it's realistic and it's something you can take steps towards and enjoy the process of. I think the people that are really successful really enjoy that process instead of just the insane grind and drive to get to a number, for instance. Those people who get to that number usually never are content when they get to that number. And so the people that are driven to, you can measure yourself against others, and you look on social media, just have, you know, they say there's a sucker born every day, right? You know, I hope that people aren't out there falling for the flashy stuff and look at my watch and look at whatever and you can live this life and you know, whatever. A lot of stuff is just straight garbage. But there is some value if you find the right people in learning things in order to get you closer to your goal and using people as a yardstick to measure yourself up against, but not to judge yourself by. I think that is something that we all fall short on most of the time. And I don't want to be a part of that. So, and I am to some degree, I suppose, to some people. I get messages often from people. It's like, I'm trying to quit my job and I'm trying to do this and look at my store and I can't. And you can just tell they're just distraught over it. The best suggestion I would give for those people, that a lot of you out there are, I've said this before, far more successful eBay sellers than I am. And very content people. I tell you what, there's nothing more flattering to me than somebody who's doing way better than me watching this show. Because that tells me that I'm truly trying to sell something else. Because if I wasn't, somebody who's at this level selling $500,000 a year on eBay or whatever it is, and they still find value in watching me, that is an incredible compliment. And I think that's where I think a lot of us need to be. You need to measure yourself against yourself consistently, systematically, and then work, and then do it again, and then work, and do it again, and accept the fact that there will be ups and downs based on all kinds of things, including health, including family situations. You got to give yourself a little bit of grace from time to time while still pushing forward. And we did have a viewer sale today, and it's something a long time ago. Well, I still do it from time to time, I suppose. I do it now just for clarity's sake. I used to, in some ways, be ashamed of getting viewer sales because I got so much feedback like it's not realistic for me because of this and whatever. That's fine. That kind of goes to the heart of what I'm saying. Yes, I have viewer sales. I'm very, very fortunate to have them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 maybe on these. These are called Racing Champion something special. Let me look over here and see what they are. Is this not even the right one? This is Hot Wheels Hall of Fame's Greatest Rides. I might not even have the right one. All right, here it is. This is the right one. Hot Wheels Hall of Fame lot of 6. That one sold for $39.95 plus shipping. And Bradley, our buddy Bradley, Crosley Field. You buy from us occasionally, and we really appreciate it. Hey, Kevin, hope all is well. Keep the Picker channel content coming. Not this one. You don't want me to keep this one going? I very much enjoy it and learn from it as well. Bradley, I do appreciate you. All right, next one's kind of crazy, but let me get to the point, and then I'll start to pick. I really asked myself, I'm like, I'm so passionate about this. I'm passionate about picking up this camera and talking about reselling. I love it. So what is it exactly I'm selling, I asked myself. And I came up with the answer. What I'm selling and what I am so passionate about is really taking control over your life in a situation where maybe you didn't have that kind of control before. And that means very different things to different people. For me, as a high school teacher, making very little money, supporting a family, I felt hopeless. I felt like, yes, I'm going to teach in this classroom for the rest of my life. And, well, the rest of my life, I hope not. And for 30 years. And I'm never really going to get ahead. And that's what reselling got me out of. It allowed me to do a job that I loved and I was happy with, and that I made sufficient, well, I didn't make sufficient amount of money, but I made enough money to be wealthier than 95% of the people in the world, because we live here in this country. And it just gave me a freedom, and it gave me a happiness to know that I had a certain amount of control in my life for my finances, for my family's finances, for my family's future. And that's why I'm so passionate about it. And that could mean making $200 extra a month for some person. And it could mean quitting your job eventually and doing it full time or retiring early. It could mean very different things to very different people. And so I've tried to appeal to all those different people because I so believe that it is one of the single best ways to not just make more money, but to bring more joy into your own life. And that's more difficult for some than others, because they need more. They're really under the level that they need to sustain the lifestyle that they want for their families. But if I could say anything to people out there, is find contentment. Find contentment as cheap as you can find it and grow from there. All right, if you've been around the channel, you know these things. I bought them as a joke to post. And I was like, well, there were none listed on eBay. These are vintage Summer's Eve feminine body bars. I'm like, bought them at Goodwill, bought the whole bag for 99 cents. And we've sold some over the years. And here we go, selling some more. Sold a total of 4. And we got $16.80. People buy anything. I don't talk about my personal life very often, and I don't plan on doing it very often. Maybe from time to time, but I'll tell a little personal story here. We were living in a home. We had just had, we just had Turner. We were living in a home down the road. It was an older house. We didn't pay much for it. It's all we could afford. And it was always a struggle just to pay the bills. And out of the generosity of, you've heard me talk about our elderly neighbor. I get emotional. She just was a next door neighbor to us when we were growing up. She gave us, when she gave it to us before she passed, not long before. But she gave us a big gift. And it was a lot of money. A lot of money for me, like more than I made in a year teaching. And that gift allowed me and my wife, because of our diligence, because of our hard work with eBay above and beyond the business, you know, the school and the teaching and the bus driving and all that, and just being disciplined and we didn't have TV, we didn't pay for cable TV. We lived on virtually nothing. And we just didn't go into debt. And because we didn't go into debt and lived a very frugal lifestyle with very little, we go on one vacation a year. When we got that gift, we were overwhelmed with it, and it was just enough to get us into this home. And I just was so incredibly grateful and proud of what me and my wife had done, and grateful for that gift, that I just knew I was content right here the rest of my life, because there were times in my life where I never thought I could get to this point. This house is no mansion. Some of you people out there who have been here before, don't show up my driveway though. Not good. That's happened a couple times. At any rate, I was so incredibly content, and that chair underneath that tree really did mean so. It was a beautiful yard, and the kids had room to play and whatever. there was nothing going to, no matter what happened. This is long before I picked up a camera for YouTube or any of that stuff. And I just got to a place of complete contentment in my life, loving my family, loving where I was because of where I had been. Some things I don't discuss, but I was so grateful. And I tell you what, having that level of contentment gave me the confidence and the springboard to know that I could go from there. And if it failed, it failed. And if it was successful, it was successful. And I was going to write it anyways. That was just it. And I still feel the same way. And I wish there's a lot more people out there who would find their contentment here and not forget about their goals. It's not easy to do. Yeah, I've been whining about not selling hats, and I got two headed out of here today. This is going to be a college hat. It's going to take me a minute to find it probably. Yeah, maybe we'll peek in here without having to bring it down. See if it's on top. Nope. Haven't been in this bin in a while. This is a cool hat, y'all. Longwood Lancers. I love to pick up these schools that aren't very big. This is a little bit down the road. It's not too far away from here. Matter of fact, we were at some sales down there the other day. And it's a little corduroy Yupun hat. And no comps out there for it. And I just put a nice little comp out there for 22 bucks, I think. Let me double check. I think that's what we got for it. $22.46 is what it sold for. So it went off on a 5% offer plus shipping. Had another viewer sale, and y'all, we actually had more than 19 sales. I just saw something that blows me away because 19 orders is what we had. And you know, this was a double order and there's stuff like that. So we're gonna have more items than that, but I'll show it to you probably a little later in the video here. This was a viewer as well. Robin, I gotta read it right. Scooby-Doo keychains, 2 of them. Had it out of here, somewhere around 15 bucks for those. Total, free shipping. Now that I look at that, I'm not sure you're a viewer out there. I just had a message that said thank you, and there was an offer that was sent, so maybe it's just a buyer saying thank you. But if not, Robin, thank you. All right, this has been here a while too. Not sure I'm gonna be able to find it. It's a single figure, which would not be in there, I don't think. It might be up here, possibly. Nope, the Gorn figure. Might have to dig for this one, y'all. Hold on. All right, there it is. It's Gorn, a little vintage Gorn Star Trek. Today's the day of Star Trek, y'all. This one sold. This one was not on discount. This one sold for $59. And I also bought this one for $10. So that's a little better. That makes me feel better about that deal. $59 plus shipping. So Star Trek, Star Trek, Star Trek. Where's the ornament? Didn't I get a Star Trek one? Oh, this sold too. I forgot about this one. Right here. Chekhov ornament. Sold. And that one sold for $18.95 plus shipping. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 4? Is there 4 or 5? 4 Star Trek things sold today. And these 2 are newly listed. These 2 are old. And they all sold to different people. I always wonder who's buying the jackets in the middle of the hottest days of the summer. This North Face jacket sold. It's not even very big, but it's nice condition. Sold for $29.95 plus shipping. I used to talk about Buddhism in this context when I talk to my kids and just compare how different cultures are in different places in the world. Because in the United States, in the Western world in general, you see competition and striving to be the best. And I think that's a good thing, don't get me wrong. But to live in a place in Eastern cultures, in different Eastern, because they're different in every places, but where you'd see Buddhism, and in this case, this is a Zen Buddhist quote right here. I'll read you. You know, it's everything in life is suffering and sorrow. Everything in life is suffering and sorrow, and that suffering and sorrow is caused by desire. And sometimes it's like, hey, if you have that desire, if it's unfulfilled desire, it can lead to quite a bit of strife and angst and difficulty. And that's 2 of the 4 Noble Truths, which I don't agree with if you take the whole, and I don't agree with the philosophy, but I think it's still interesting and telling. A flower does not think of competing to the flower next to it. It just blooms. Had to turn the AC on for a minute. I was talking to Jeff out there. And let me turn it off so you don't have to hear it. The Book of the Bones. I think this is one of those things that my wife would not want me to list, and I didn't quite realize it when I listed it. But that's okay. So for $17.99 plus shipping. Sold a golf club head cover, which we used to sell tons of, and we don't sell any because I don't have that connection anymore. well, I still have the connection. They just went to a charitable route instead of me, which is fine. I'm happy for them. And it's an Apex club head cover. There it is right there. Very cool. I'll double check, make sure it's the right one, but it's a little hybrid cover. And this one sold for $10.46 plus shipping. Now, I've been looking up quotes for this, and I've been seeing some that I really like. Our time is limited, so don't waste it living someone else's life. Steve Jobs. And of course, he brought about, or helped to bring about, a lot of this social media world that we have to contend with. But if you get your mind kind of straight, you could still get into social media and enjoy it, and maybe even sift through the nonsense and find the parts that are so incredibly useful for you attaining your goals. But always measure those goals versus what you've set for yourself and where you've come from. And I think it really helps. And I really think it's a really good idea to have that level of contentment. Not necessarily a dollar amount, but it could just be some basic things like, hey, as long as I'm with my family, I'm healthy, we got a roof over our heads, there's food on the table, I'm going to be content with what I've got and build from there. All right, I owe a big thank you to Marcia here. This is incredible. Repeat buyer, of course, because this is a repeat. Marcia, this is really kind of you. Bought a bunch of stuff. I'm going to pull them and show them and then give the price. I'm not going to go through them individually, but this is, I don't think I've ever had an order this big from a viewer, and it is incredibly, incredibly nice. You got some cool stuff too. I'm going to pull these as quick as I can here, as quick as I can remember where the heck they're at. That thing's cool when it works. This is cool. Rainbow Kids. Yeah, I bought this down at the Webster over a year ago. Nobody ever bought it, and I loved it. I think I picked up one of those quarter bins. I love that one. And this Greek wooden toy. I've sold these multiple times over the years. Kuvalius or something like that. I love that. You picked two of my favorite things in the shed. And you got a fossil leather crossbody bag. Put that right there. Not sure I can reach this or not using this. I think I can. Look at that puppy out there. This is a Dakin teddy bear. Really nice one. Got this Churchill Blue Willow 3-piece set right there. That's kind of cool looking on the inside, but I'm not going to show it to you. Back over here, you got an Otagiri penguin. And I bought some Otagiri not too long ago, but I think this one came from Dawn, Lady Arbitrage, when she was doing some picking. I think this one had a chip on it. Yeah, it's got that little chip right there. It's an Otagiri penguin music box. Is that what that is? It's got to be, right? Anyway, that one's kind of cool. And you got 4 of these guys here, different scents and gels and, I don't know, creams. Bath and Body Works, all of them. We still got a few left for sure. And that's vanilla comfy something. I don't know what it's called. No, it's not. Cozy Bourbon, Strawberry Pound Cake, and Cucumber Melon. I want to go say hi to Jess. That's the other thing that really, I tell you what. Now maybe I'll talk about this some other day. We've been talking a bunch, so come on, boys. Let's go see him. This is, Jess was gone for a while. The live selling stopped completely. But I came to realize that my eBay stuff had really slowed too because of the organizational process that she actually does while she's getting the live stuff done, and the separating stuff like that is just really kind of, she doesn't know I'm coming. Hey Jess, hey. Secret weapon time. The apothecary jars, the amber ones. You know what I'm talking about? Is that, no, that's not one. There they are. I see them right there. I see them right up there. Y'all, some of y'all may remember, hey, I don't come up here very often, but shout out to Brian Klaus. Leave a comment below, buddy. I'm way up here. These 2 jars, I got this at a library sale in Rustburg, Virginia, and they gave me a good deal. I never forgot those ladies. They were super sweet. I'm going to change my hands here so I can grab this one if I can. Yeah, that would be good. You know, we've never listed that thing right there, have we? That little instrument. I don't know what it is exactly. Ukulele, banjo. I think it has Bakelite handles. I probably should do that. Now, this order is a $300 order for everything. There's a few higher priced things in there like this and this. But that is incredibly generous of you. I absolutely love these jars. Love them with the lids on them and everything. Super cool. So anyway, thank you so very much. And I almost forgot, we sold an Inaman to Crystal. Crystal, thank you. And Crystal left a message, says, Kevin, I'm a huge fan and I've learned so much from watching you on YouTube. Hopefully we will get things moving for my eBay store. Hopefully he will get things moving for my eBay store. Wayward Finds 2011. Make sure Dave lets you get a word in on Trash to Cash. I do okay over there. I'm a talker too, you know. Here's a good one to end the quotes on. Beauty begins the moment you decide to be yourself. And that's what I hope people get and preaching, hey, there are right things to do, wrong things to do, but there are so many different ways to do it the right way, and it really should start with your way. I appreciate y'all, and I'm going to try, you know, looking at what happened in Texas to all those families and all the different tragedies you see around the world all the time. You know, I think it definitely is something that we should really be far more conscious of than we are, is just living in the moment and being very content in that moment. And somehow balancing that with achievement and with goals and with keeping your pursuit of where you really want to be. So anyway, thank y'all for joining us, and I can't wait to see you next time.